Life, sweet life, sweet life, sweet life.
Hi guys, today I'm going to show you guys how I actually made my son's Space Jam birthday cake. So I started off with these color mill colors and I just split my batter up into 5 equal sections, and then I colored each section with the color mill color. I love those. I just got those and I love them, and it really came out with these vibrant colors. So now I'm just leveling off each layer to make sure they're completely flat before I actually go in and ice the cake. And as always, I'll link everything I'm using below, and I will also link those color mill colors that I use. I really like them, and what I do like about them is you can also use them for chocolate since they are oil based. So check the description below for everything that I'm using in this video. And as you can see, it is a rainbow cake. So I'm going to just stack the colors in the order of rainbow colors. And if you didn't know, there is a order to rainbow colors. So if you're trying to create a rainbow effect, there is an actual order to put the colors in. And so I'm going to start with purple at the bottom. Then I'm going to go to blue, then green, then yellow, then red at the top. So there we have it, and I am using my high humidity buttercream. I did make a video on this buttercream recipe and I will link it below. And I forgot to mention that these cake layers are almost completely frozen. I'm going to prep my fondant. I'm actually going to do a marble fondant on the bottom tier of this cake. And I'm going to do it marbled with black and gray. And then we're going to do the paneling method with the fondant. Instead of actually draping the fondant over, we're going to do the paneling method where we cover the sides and then the top. And this is actually a Space Jam logo that I printed on edible paper. And I'm just cutting it out. And then I'm going to get it onto fondant. And I'm going to cut the fondant the exact same size as the image. I do this because I don't like to place my images directly onto the cake because sometimes they can sweat and actually mess up the colors in the image. So I always put fondant on the back of the image and then stick the fondant to the cake. And to stick everything, I am using piping gel. Okay, so the top tier of the cake, I'm actually going to use a dummy cake, and it's going to be the money pull part of the cake. Here you can see where I attached a bubble straw. If you watch my previous money pull breakable heart video, I showed you how I put this money into the bags and tape them all together and then tape it to the straw. So I'll link that video below if you want to see in depth how I tape the money together. So I'm just rolling the money up very tightly. Then I'm going to use the money to actually measure the hole that I'm going to cut in the top of the cake. And guys, if you want to use a real cake for this, it's the exact same process, except for once you cut the hole out, you want to seal it with buttercream once you cut out the hole. But since I'm using a dummy cake, I don't have to do any of that. So I'm just rolling it up. I'm going to use it to measure, and then I'm going to cut out a hole that's a little bit bigger than the actual roll of money. Like I said before, if you were doing this with a real cake, you would this would be the step that you would do after you actually put your buttercream on it and let it set up in the refrigerator. So you would ice your cake like normal and let it get hard in the refrigerator, and then you would carve this part out. And once you carve it out, the exposed cake that you see, you will cover that. You will do a layer of buttercream inside of that. The reason why I'm using a dummy cake on top is because I wanted a two-tier cake, but we didn't have enough guests for a two-tier cake. And I didn't want to put the money pull part into the bottom of the cake because it actually takes away from your serving sizes. So I'm using a dummy for the top just for aesthetics, just because I like the look of a two-tier cake. But we didn't necessarily need that much cake. So I rather cut the hole out in the dummy cake so I don't lose servings in my real cake at the bottom. Step is actually much easier with real cake because the styrofoam is much harder to cut than real cake. You can just spoon it out with a spoon. And so now I'm going to use a skewer that's the exact same length of the cake, and I'm going to cut it to be the exact same length. And then I'm going to take that skewer and I'm going to go through the straw on the money. So I'm gonna go from the side and I'm gonna put that straw, that skewer into the middle of that straw and go all the way through to the other side. So now you have the straw around the actual skewer. So when it's time to pull the money out, it has something to roll around on. It'll actually make the straw like go around in a circle and make the money easier to pull out. So now I'm just coating the dummy cake in shortening, and then I'm going to do it the exact same way I did the bottom tier with the paneling method. So if I didn't mention it before, I had actually taped the money so it would stay rolled up while I was working with it. Like I said, I did do a full video showing you guys how I did these money rolls in a previous video that I'll link before. Now I'm measuring because I'm going to cut a slit in the top of the fondant so that I can feed the actual money through. It was the exact same process with the dummy cake that it was with the real cake. This is me kind of just seeing how the cake was going to look when I was still at home. And we ended up traveling with this cake. So then when I got out of town, I attached the money to the back of a topper. And if I was actually making that for someone else, I would have covered the money up with another piece of paper. But because it was for my son and I was running late, I didn't have time. So I kind of just hid it and faced it to the back so they didn't know. And here's my son actually pulling the money out. 1, 2, 3. Whoa! Both he and everybody at the party was very excited. The money came out perfectly. This is how the inside of the cake looked. They had the most dull knife there, so I wasn't able to get a clean slice for you guys, but you get the message. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Bye.
We laugh.